If you've ever heard or read the Livestrong Manifesto, then you're familiar with the slogan that's on this year's Tour de Barbecue logo. It reads, "Attitude is everything, unity is strength, knowledge is power." Today is Livestrong Day, a day we can come together to celebrate life and survival in the face of adversity. All across the world, people are joining together to raise awareness and money to grow the fight against cancer. Unfortunately, many of us are also connected today by tragedy, by a disease that has affected each of us in one way or another. This year, more than 2 million Americans will be diagnosed with cancer. Every day, it will claim more than 1,500 lives. This is why we must fight. This is why the Lance Armstrong Foundation was created, and the reason we formed the Livestrong Army of Kansas City.
We've got a very close group of friends, and we had one of our friends, Jerry, was battling cervical cancer at the time, and it was metastatic at the time that we were preparing for the Tour de Barbecue last year. So that's how we got involved initially.
I know for me it was so much of focusing on her husband, as our friend Jerry, and just watching her husband just become what a true husband and father should be. And I just hope someday, if ever challenged, I can be what he was, and he is, to his family.
It was a really rough 2.5 years for her. She just passed this last June, so it's this year's kind of a bittersweet for our group. Last year we rode in honor of Jerry. She was there at the finish line, which was just awesome to see her there. She was in the midst of chemo at the time, so all of us training for a 60-mile ride just paled in comparison to what Jerry and so many other cancer survivors and people affected by cancer, battle every day.
I can't really remember a time in my life when I didn't know what cancer was. My grandma was first diagnosed when I was 5, and she, over the course of 20 years, had probably 4 or 5 diagnoses, and then she was the strongest person that I've ever met. And then after she passed, I had an uncle and a good family friend that passed away as well as an aunt. And then this last year I've had 1 more aunt and 2 more uncles that have passed away from cancer as well. So it's definitely, I think being a part of this is almost a way of coping and dealing with getting through all that too has helped tremendously.
So I've seemed to have always been affected by cancer. I lost my grandmother when I was 18 to cancer, and I lost my mom when I was 32 to cancer. And it doesn't matter what age you are, you're always too young to lose your mom. You could be 82 and your mom could be 100 and you're still too young. And you have this feeling while they're going through it that you just want to help.
I get phone calls every week from friends, acquaintances, business associates, relatives, you name it, who have been recently diagnosed with cancer. And they're looking for a safe harbor and a recommendation on what they can do to have the best chance to beat this disease. So, we are constantly reminded of the need to bring an NCI-designated cancer center here. It's unrelenting. It never stops.
What we're doing cannot be done by 13 people or 50 people or even 100 people. It's going to take literally every single person in Kansas City giving $5, sending a note to their elected official, driving their friend who has to go get chemo treatment. It's going to be everybody doing their part to fight cancer.
Well, I think, one of the most important things for people to realize is that cancer is a solvable problem. It is an extraordinarily complex problem with well over 200 different kinds of cancer, and each one has to have its own unique solution. But we've been making steady progress against this disease since the mid-70s.
The Tour de Barbecue raises money for cancer research, not only for the National Lance Armstrong Foundation, but for people right here in Kansas City at the KU Cancer Center. And that's important to me. I'm from a small town, and keeping things hometown is crucial. and being able to look around and have someone come up to me and say, I go and I get my treatment at the KU Cancer Center for my breast cancer or my leukemia or my prostate cancer. This is important to me because it affects me. That puts a human face on what we do every day. It's not just someone wearing a yellow band. It's a father hoping that he can take his daughter down the aisle. It's a grandmother hoping that she can see her grandsons at Christmas next year. Those are the real life things that people look at and you talk about.
We're all tired of fighting cancer, and trust me, having lived through that in my own house and see what people go through, and it'd be nice for this to be a celebration ride as opposed to a cause.
According to historian Jim Fitzpatrick, bicycles have been utilized in every major military conflict waged across our globe since the Franco-Prussian War of 1870. They are typically utilized by volunteer regiments and often part of the force considered to be at a disadvantage in the war. Well, we're at war with cancer, and you're on a bike. So welcome to the Army, the Livestrong Army of Kansas City.